I think the biggest misconception about autism is that vaccines are the cause, and I think that notion has done a lot of harm. It's a scientific question. It has a scientific answer, and it's been answered. My name is Paul Offit. I'm Chief of Infectious Diseases at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the author of Autism's False Prophets: Bad Science, Risky Medicine, and the Search for a Cure. I wrote the book because I think the notion that vaccines cause autism has done a lot of harm. I think it's caused harm in the sense that some parents now are choosing not to vaccinate their children and putting them at risk of diseases which can cause hospitalization and death. I think it's caused harm because it's subjected children to dangerous and potentially fatal therapies based on the notion that vaccines were the problem. And I think it's caused harm because it's diverted resources away from far more promising leads in the area of autism research. I think historically, if you look at diseases for which there isn't a clear cause, like multiple sclerosis or diabetes or mental retardation or epilepsy, vaccines have historically been one of the first things to be blamed. Certainly it's reasonable that when a parent has a child who's fine and then they get a vaccine and then they're not fine anymore, that they would raise the question, could the vaccine have done that? And I think that that academia and public health officials have been pretty quick to respond to try and do the kinds of studies to answer that question. The way that you do that is you look at hundreds of thousands of children who, for example, received the MMR vaccine and compare them to hundreds of thousands that didn't to see whether or not the risk was greater in the group that got vaccinated. And I think we've seen now 16 different studies where the results have been clear and consistent and reproducible. Vaccines don't cause autism. I think what's really frustrating in this debate is that there are those who simply don't believe the science. They hold on to the notion that vaccines cause autism like a religious belief, and they get very angry at those who counter this belief. But I think also it's given birth to in some ways, a cottage industry of false hope. There are those prophets among us, fringe doctors or scientists, who are willing to step forward and say, although mainstream medicine doesn't know what causes autism, I know, and I can provide a treatment that's going to work. And I think it's really taking advantage of parents who are desperate for a cure. It's not fair. There actually are a number of promising leads in autism research, and it may well lead to therapies which I don't think are going to cure, but certainly could modify the disorder. But you never hear about those studies, and I think it's because those who are opposed to vaccines have taken this story hostage, much to the detriment of children with autism.